We have some examples of your pitched roof
Yeah.
houses with pencils, with different color pencils, or there are some painting in here also.
There is a bit of painting,
Okay.
a lot more pencil on the surface underneath the sort of background is painting, and that particular piece is also done on a fan, like handheld fans, like I think many of us remember from
What is,
childhood.
yeah, tell us the significance of fans for you.
Well, I always thought that I wanted to do something that was what I felt culturally significant, and I think I had been fascinated by the fact that in many cultures, the art that we look at and study that we have in museums were things that the members of the culture actually used, such as masks. We see those hanging on the wall, but they actually had a function. And I was always fascinated by the fact that how could I sort of meld that notion, that philosophy, with what we are here in the Western world. What we think in terms of art, usually it hangs on the wall and we look at it. So I wanted to sort of do something that spoke to both of those things.
Now, this have an African American bent for you in any way in terms of fans in the house? Does it relate to us culturally as African Americans?
Well, for me, the fan does. I remember the fans from a little boy being in church in the South. You know, there was no air conditioning, and as soon as you got there, those fans were passed out. And there were all these images on there. Often they were advertisement, but they were images. And I sat looking at those, and I looked at those all the time in my young life as I was hearing the elders doing their ceremonial things that they did.
And you said houses was a fascination for you in a certain period. And here's an example of, along with the fan, a house. Now, what's the significance of a house such as this for you?
I think they have a lot. It has a lot of meanings. There are things that I'm still discovering about it. I have a fascination for the visual image, the shape of the house, but I also have a fascination for the fact that the house, to me, there seems to be a lot inside. It contains a lot of things. Interestingly, lots of times I will do houses with lots of windows. The fan has an image of a door, but not very many of the houses have doors. A lot of them have windows. And I don't know. I think I'm still discovering more and more about all the things that can be contained within the house. It's certainly comforting, I think, in a way.
In terms of collage, what type of collage do you do?
The collage, and I did not bring examples, but they're much larger. Often they're larger, and they tend to have they tend to have images of they have images of actual people, faces,
Okay.
profiles, and so forth.
Hmm.
They have, along with other objects, and they are sort of abstracted in the sense that they suggest the human form or people. They have other things going, elements of design and so forth, just color and shape.
And your portraits,
Uh,
in pencils, how has that evolved?
Portraits, I have not done really portraits in the formal sense that much. But lots of times, most of the times, the portrait images that I do are people that I make up, and often their faces. Sometimes it's entire bodies, but it's fascinating just creating the image and doing them in drawings. I did a project earlier in this decade. I just decided I wanted to. At first, I thought I wanted to contact several friends and have them sit for me, and I think I decided just to make up people, and I did about 30 to 35 faces of images of people who were older, younger, and they just seemed to take shape.
What I'd like for us to talk a little bit about now is what's happening with your work currently. You know, where do you see yourself going with your work? How does your work give voice to the Black experience?
Well, I think it's a very interesting thing. I think the question has been posed a few times about how the work speaks to the Black experience. That started to happen in college, actually, and I had a lot of times to think about that at that time, and I realized that the the exciting thing about my work that I felt was that it spoke to the Black experience, really regardless of what it looked like initially, what it looked like visually. I think it was informed by my own experience doing the work and having grown up in the experience of being an African American and all of those things. So I think that I never felt that it was necessary to depict a certain image to say, oh, look, this is an image of the Black experience. And I think that a lot of times what comes out tends to speak about that to me, and I think to other people who've said so as well.
I know there's some discussion in the community that Black artists ought to deal specifically with the Black experience through imagery or essence or whatever. And then I'm hearing you say that I'm Black.
Yes.
And whatever I do is influenced by the Black experience, whether it's sort of a one-to-one ratio or not. I'm sort of hearing you say that, you know, you're an artist maybe first, and maybe a Black artist second. Am I hearing that? Or are you saying that you're Black? So no matter what you do, it's Black art.
Yes, that's more like it. I never felt the need to separate one and say one is first and one is second. I'm so many things, and I'd have to have a list, and you know, is this one number 14 today, or is this one not? So it really doesn't help me particularly to approach things that way. Am I male first, or am I Black, or you know, so forth. The thing about it is what I realized at some point and I think this came to me through exploring my creative work, is that the experience and the notion of my being Black was not going to go away. So no matter what I did with the art, and so I was free to revel in it and just do images. And generally, it does speak to a lot about me, and that is having to do with the Black experience.
A little bit about your education. We have just a couple more minutes.
Okay.
So you went to college where now?
At the University of Mississippi. Some people know it as Ole Miss, and that certainly was known during the Civil Rights Movement. And I went to undergraduate school there.
What years?
1982 to 84. I was in junior college first, so that was and then to graduate school at Northern Illinois University, which is just outside of Chicago, about an hour away from Chicago, and that from 85 to 87.
So you have an MFA?
I have an MA in drawing, believe it or not. I have an undergraduate degree, BFA in painting, and I have an MA in drawing. So, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, what's happening with you in San Francisco in your work?
Well, currently I am working on things I have not been showing as much in the past couple years in San Francisco, but I am still doing work and working on things that are to be exhibited soon.
Great. Now, in terms of the arts world, how does the art in San Francisco Bay Area compare to, say, art in other parts of the country? Or can you make a comparison like that?
It's not as easy for me to make a comparison. I think that the art here is somewhat similar to the Bay Area itself, that there are many aspects of it. It's expressed in so many different ways. There's not necessarily a look or certain thing.
Wow, believe it or not, our time is just about up. It's been another fascinating session of Afro Solo TV. We've been sitting here with Michael Ross, talking about his experiences as a visual artist here in the Bay Area, his growing up in the South, and his life now. Thanks for joining us here at Afro Solo TV, and look forward to seeing you next time.